WSOU 89.5 FM, the loudest rock. I'm Valentino, and I'm joined today with Matt from Citizen. How you doing today?
Good. How about you?
I can't complain. Thank you for asking. It's a lot of exciting stuff happening in the Citizen camp right now. You guys have so much going on pretty much all the time. But first, I want to start it out. Your brand new song, Let Me Out, just dropped a few weeks ago. How does that feel?
It feels good, and the response is good. It always feels good when you do something maybe a little off kilter and people respond well to it. So it's cool.
Exactly. And I feel like this whole record cycle has been like that, like a little off kilter, and people have been loving it. Never would I think in a million years that like a Citizen record would be still very sad, emotional, but also very danceable and like almost like dance punk, dance pop,
Yeah, it's fun to tap into like a different energy. Citizen's always been pretty mid tempo, and we just got kind of sick of that. And the cool thing about being in a band is if you don't want to do the same stuff all the time, you don't have to.
Exactly. And it's like I think that this definitely goes along with, you mentioned in previous interviews, this record was completely, recorded in your home. It's kind of like, we're not going to do the same thing. We're just hanging out. We're going to write music we enjoy.
Yeah, totally. Dude, and I think that shows for sure. I mean, at the end of the day, like Citizen is just a product of whatever we're listening to at the time. And that's what it is. You can have all these musicians say they're, that they're playing music that came from their mind and they're so original. And so, no, like you write things that sound like other things because you like it. And I embrace that. I literally don't care. So like, of course, Citizen's going to change as we get older because we're listening to different stuff, So I noticed when we started doing demos for this first record, I was just writing Citizen songs, and I had the realization it was like, man, at this current point in my life, I don't even listen to music that sounds like this, and I'm like writing it, and it's kind of like I'm just gonna write what's fun, and what's fun to me at the moment is kind of like more upbeat songs. I'm sick of the slow songs. Sorry, my camera's falling.
Oh, good. No worries. And, that's one of the cool things I think about Citizen is I can actually hear your influences in the music in like a really cool way. I know on As You Please, you said you were influenced by Queen during that record. And especially like in the middle of it all, I can kind of hear like, the cool vocal stuff. On this record, you're influenced by more fun dance stuff. You got songs like Fight Beat. Other artists, they're like, oh, I'm really influenced by this, this certain legendary artist. They'll throw in like, Van Halen, David Bowie, but you won't actually hear any of that influences on the record. It's like a part of you wonders, are they just saying it to say it? But with influence with a Citizen, I can really kind of sense it. I can feel it.
Yeah, dude. And I embrace that. I think there is a David Bowie quote that's kind of like, if you're listening to me, you're listening to all my favorite artists. And it's so true. Like your ego gets in the way, and it's like you think that like you're being really innovative and creative and you're completely original. It's just not true. I think what is cool and is taking something you like and making it your own. Like, I don't think that Citizen is creating a genre. I don't think we are doing anything groundbreaking, and that's not the goal. I want to make music that I would listen to, and of course it's going to sound like other stuff, because it's like, that's not the goal, to reinvent the wheel. And I couldn't, even if I wanted to. I literally couldn't. You know what I'm saying? So now I kind of embrace it. Like, oh, Citizen record sounds like this. It's like, yeah, sure, whatever. Do you like the songs? Oh, okay, cool. It's our, I think everybody's band, whether they like to admit it or not, is their own spin on other bands that they listen to. So
Hmm.
You get a lot of things online where people, the thing with fans is they think they're one step ahead of you all the time. It's like insane. They're like, this sounds like Block Party, and it's like, okay,
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, of course it does. Do you like it?
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
they're like trying to like call you out, like catch you with your pants down. It's like, whatever, but
Yeah. No,
the
well,
response, not to make it sound like everybody's mad, but I just, you get venting about stuff. It's just funny. The way people act is funny. But this has been our most well-received record, and it's very refreshing, especially, Citizen was going through some weird stuff. So it's good to feel rejuvenated again.
exactly. And it's so funny you say that about the fans is like as a music fan myself, I love music so much, but I've noticed that like the online presence of a music fandom is very different than like the in-person presence of a music fandom. Like no fan would go to your face and be like, "Oh, this sounds like this and this and this." They would just be like, "Hey, I love the music." It's like it's so weird now, the social media fandoms, I guess you could call it.
People are too comfortable. I hate it.
Yeah.
You know, people people will just say some stuff that like coming out of the gate where it's like, whoa, I don't know you. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you would never say this to me, or like anybody, not just me. Like people are like, and I don't even think they realize it, but people are like very rude on the internet, like
Oh
very
yeah.
frank, and you know what I'm saying, um, and it's like not cool. It's
Oh
annoying,
yeah.
So, and you could go with the whole argument like, yeah, totally, I like say how I feel, and like that's how it is. But you know what? Like people like that, nobody likes people like that.
Yeah.
If you're like, if I'm talking to you and you're just like insulting me all the time, like it's just like, I'm just never gonna talk to you again. So like,
Yeah.
why is that okay to do that to everybody on the internet? I don't know. It's annoying.
No, you're right. It doesn't make sense. And I think one of my favorite like Instagram, Twitter comments that bands get a lot of the time, artists, is I'll see fans comment something like, I don't know, it doesn't feel like them. And it's like, you've never met this person before. You've literally never interacted with them. What do you mean it doesn't feel like them? You have no history with this artist as a human being besides their music.
Dude, yeah. People always think they're one step ahead of you on your own stuff. It's People are very entitled now. And maybe they've always been that way and you just never saw it. But like with the internet, you can like everybody is very, very entitled. So it's insane to me, honestly.
Yeah, you
But
got that
you
keyboard
learn to
courage.
ignore it. You learn to ignore it. Honestly, I've just been talking back to people nowadays because it's fun talking crap back to people.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fun. But not, once again, not to focus too much on the negative. For every D-bag, there's 20 really very nice, cool people, that they're awesome. The fans.
Exactly. And especially on this new record cycle, I've seen nothing but like a lot of really, really positive comments. And I think even just statistically, it shows, Life in Your Glass World right now, you guys have 419,875 monthly listeners on Spotify. So the Citizen fan base was already, massive. And this record has just like doubled it in a way. You're almost at 500,000 Spotify listeners. That's got to be crazy from your end.
It's really awesome. I mean, it always feels good. It always feels good to just have new stuff received well. I mean, I think Citizen got really lucky. We put out the right record at the right time. Youth was our first full length, and we kind of just caught the emo revival wave, like by chance. And we got really lucky. And I hear people really holding that record in like high regard, which is awesome. But I think it's more of a nostalgia thing than anything, and we got lucky to have people respond well to our new stuff, because a lot of bands that put out a really liked, I'm trying to say this without sounding conceited, because I don't, what I'm saying, people really liked our first album.
Yeah.
And it's good that we're not trapped in that, so we just played Riot Fest, and you know, the new songs went over better than any other song, and it was really surprising and felt really good, to be honest, you know.
And I actually was at that Riot Fest performance. I just flew back from Chicago like on Monday, and being in the pit, and then you guys open with Death Dance approximately, and just having everyone go crazy. Like these songs translate live, in my opinion, better than any other citizen song live. And I love your back catalog too, but I see what you're saying, where it's like these songs are almost born for that live setting.
Yeah, it's fun. It's high energy, and you know, that Riot Fest set was our first time ever playing those songs live. So, or like in front of a crowd, and you know, usually you put out a new record and you play, you know, you play for a couple months, you play some crappy shows. The shows die down when you play the new stuff, and it takes people a little bit to catch on. But we put out the record, like 6 months ago, or I don't know, something like that. And people have had time to sit with it. So it's cool to be able to like play I Want to Kill You and have everybody sing along, and you're like, oh man, this is great. You know, like I just skipped all the bad stuff and now we're here having a great time. This is awesome, you know. So
yeah, exactly. And it's so cool, because typically, like, you know, in the music industry, what a lot of people don't understand, you drop a record and then the second you drop that record, you tour on it like intensely, you know.
yes,
So it's got to be not like weird but kind of nice to drop a record and then let the fans know the songs before you start touring on it.
yeah, it's really great. We got our hometown show is tomorrow, and I'm like really excited about that. So we're doing rally towels. So it's gonna be, I'm really excited to see how it goes over, and you know, in more of a intimate setting. Like Riot Fest is awesome and stuff, but there's like a 20-foot barrier, and you look like you're like on display really high up, and it can only get so wild, you know. So I'm excited to play a proper citizen show for the first time and like see how things go over, you know.
Exactly. You know, and again, I love Riot Fest, one of my favorite festivals, but you're right. You know, even when you're on the barricade, you're still like 5 to 10 feet away from you.
Yeah,
Whereas,
you
you
know,
know,
I love Riot Fest is my favorite festival for sure. So I'm not trying to discredit it or anything, but you know, festivals are just different than club shows. You know, it's just how it is. So
absolutely. Speaking of shows, there's something I did want to talk to you about. So WSOU, you know, our radio station is based in New Jersey, and you know, we broadcast to New York City as well, but we're mainly based in New Jersey. And a lot of the cool, like more local underground shows that we go to are at this really cool venue called the Meat Locker. And I've heard you talk in a few interviews about your Meat Locker show. I really wish I could have been there. And on behalf of WSU, I'm so sorry that none of us were there 10 years ago. But yeah, if you want to explain to the audience who probably hasn't heard the story before.
so we we played New Jersey for the first time, and it was at the Meat Locker, and there was like a metal show happening like on the other side of the venue or something. I don't know. But you know, there's nobody at our show. But there's some people on the other side of the venue, I think. But anyway, so you know, we go to play, the sound guy, you know, sound checks us and leaves the room. So we're just literally in this empty room, and I'm just like, and I remember like sitting on the stage, and Nick's like, come on, man, you know, and I'm like, no, this sucks, you know, and he's like, it'll be like a band practice. And I was like, oh, okay. And we like played our set, and there was just literally nobody there. So it was just like, and it smelled really bad down there. So, you know.
Yeah, and to all of our listeners that like are maybe watching this on YouTube or don't know the New Jersey area, I love the Meat Locker, but it's literally a meat locker that just kind of turned into a venue. Like it's not like an actual like venue. It's like an old meat locker. And so like I can just the visceral image of the band just standing there in a meat locker being like, all right, do we play?
Yeah, it was the whole sound guy checking us and then leaving the room to go to the other show was just like, oh my God, I feel so pathetic right now. You know, I felt like the biggest loser. So
Well, if it gives you any comfort, I know that if you were to come back to the Meat Locker now, tickets would be sold out within like 20 seconds, easy.
Yeah. Like the venue itself was cool. I
Yeah.
thought it had a cool vibe. It was just how pathetic we were. That's the overall story. I'm not trying to like diss the venue. It was just like hilarious. So
Yeah. And I think I love that venue too, because it's almost like a speakeasy in a way where you go to like the counter of like a restaurant and you're like, hi, I'm here to see a show at the Meat Locker. And they're like, come on down. And you like,
yeah,
you go like downstairs. It's so cool.
yeah, that is pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
But yeah, diving into live shows, you have a tour coming up, planned, very exciting. For all of our New Jersey listeners, on December 15th, you're coming to Asbury Park, and Brooklyn coming December 16th. You excited about finally getting back on the road?
Yeah, I'm excited to play the shows. I've never been a big fan of touring and driving a lot, and Citizen is a very cheap band, so we don't like hire a team to do things for us because we're greedy. And but that also makes the touring experience kind of not that fun aside from playing shows. So I'm excited to rock out and stuff, but I'm not excited for the driving. It's just I just keep thinking about the driving. I'm like, oh my God, this is gonna suck. But I had like such a great time at Riot Fest. I forgot how much fun it was to play music, because you do it for so long and you do it so much, sometimes the magic goes away, and it just feels like just another day. And you kind of like forget to appreciate how cool and good you have it, and Citizen before the pandemic was at a point where, we didn't really know if we wanted to continue being a band and all this. We were just all kind of over it, burnt out. And so, it felt really good to get on stage, and instead of just going through the motions, it was like, oh, wow, I'm having a really awesome time right now. So it like got me like pretty pumped up for the shows and stuff, but not the driving, just the shows, so, but yeah, it's, we all feel pretty rejuvenated, and that's a really good feeling, honestly. So.
And like during the pandemic, I've actually talked to artists very similar to Citizen that like tour nonstop. Like I had a conversation very similar with like Ice Nine Kills and Spencer said like, when the pandemic first happened, it was great to just like relax because we're not playing, the entire year. But after a while, you really do want to get back on stage, and it goes the same for Citizen. You guys, like all up to 2019 touring like madmen. It was insane how many shows a year you were doing. And I'm sure when the pandemic first happened, it was like, okay, we can relax a bit, but now it's time to get back on stage, start seeing the crowds again.
Absolutely. Yeah, I wasn't excited that there was a pandemic happening, but I was excited to not do anything. And it was kind of like a very good excuse to not do anything. It was like, well, I literally can't do anything, so I'm just going to relax. And it was a nice refresher, but I'm ready for things to get back to normal again whenever. I mean, it's not even normal now. So whenever they do,
And switching gears a bit, going into kind of the recording of your new record, Life in Your Glass World, you built this home studio in Ohio. Are you still using that studio? How's that going? Is our future Citizen releases going to be held in that studio kind of?
So yeah, we practiced in that studio, and it was a really cool experience. As far as the future of recording in it, it depends on what everybody wants to do. I'm kind of game for anything. And what's the most important thing to me now is like band morale. If Nick and Eric are going to get bummed out that we're sitting in Toledo recording and going home, and then I don't want to do it, and I had my chance, and I produced the last Citizen record and recorded it. And if we decide to do something else, like, it's not going to offend me or anything. I just want to do what's best for the band and what's going to keep everybody excited. And people have people in the band have expressed that they want to do it again in Toledo. But also, personally, I think it might be good if we do something else. I don't know. I feel like when you just start recording at the same place all the time, writing in the same place all the time, you know, I don't know if it's just in my head, but things feel the same. And I don't know. I used to not be a fan of like vibe. You know what I'm saying? Like, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
I'll record this on my toilet. I don't care. Like that was like my thing. But when you're in a good mood, it really does like change a lot of things, and when you feel good and you feel inspired. And I never want to get to the point where it's like, all right, time to do another record in Matt's garage, and then we're all in there like dead inside writing another Citizen record. I want to do cool things, and we haven't been writing any new songs or anything, so I guess we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Citizen is always, we've never planned for anything as a band, anything at all, actually. And it's worked out pretty well, seemingly. Yeah, we didn't plan for Citizen to be our job. We didn't plan to have 3 or 4 records out. We didn't plan any of this. We just take it by stride. And when it comes to future music, like whatever happens, happens. And whatever we feel like doing at the time is what's going to happen. And I think that's the best way to take it,
Absolutely. And I think with that way, it always ensures that like what you're putting forward is your best material to date. Cause I was around in 2013, I saw the hype for youth, I saw every record that followed. And I genuinely believe every record you've made since then has been like the best version of Citizen. And it would be very upsetting to a lot of fans if you were to be like, okay, well, we have to pump out a Citizen record now because it says so. And it was just kind of like subpar, and I think that's why the fan base has grown so exponentially every album cycle, is because you're always putting your best foot forward.
Yeah. And I think people like to grow with a band, and, every album sounds a bit different. It all still sounds like Citizen, but it's definitely a different version of Citizen. I think no matter what I do, like no matter what kind of song I write, it's always going to sound like a song I'd write. Does that make sense? Like I could write a pop song and put it on a Citizen record, and you could tell it's a song I wrote. So it would work if you want it to work. Like putting Fight Beat on Life in Your Glass World, like things like that. It's like, does that sound like a Citizen song? No. But guess what? It's on the Citizen record and I wrote it. So it is a Citizen song. And then people will just accept it. And then when you make moves like that, you're able to be creative, and I totally forgot what I was going on about.
No, but you're right. That makes sense. Like no matter how crazy the ideas may seem, once you put them in a Citizen record, they have their home there, and that's where they are forever.
Yeah, absolutely. So pretty cool. And I think, everything's organic too, is because I don't like write to write. I write when I want to write. And I mean, that's why there was a large gap between As You Please and Life in Your Glass World, because, every time I want to write a song, it wasn't feeling it. And I just wouldn't, because, if you force it, then it won't feel genuine, in my opinion. At least when I write songs, I have friends that write a song a day as exercise, and they write great songs. Everybody's different. So, but I only write when I feel like writing. And if I get a burst of inspiration, then I'll write, and then it feels organic and nothing feels forced, and it always feels up to date, and, what's going on in our lives and that kind of thing,
Oh, absolutely. And I really agree with that, actually. I think that by doing that kind of process and like only writing when you really feel like writing, it ensures that the stuff that you're writing is 100% genuine to who you are right now. Like I don't think music will ever feel dated in that regard, because it's a capture of who you are at this current space and time. like, you could listen to Youth, and like that's who you were in 2013. You could listen to As You Please, that's who you were in 2017. Whereas if you just like write like a song a day, obviously that works for a lot of people, and that's awesome if it works for you. But I also know artists that like by doing that, it feels dated within like a week.
Yes, absolutely. I completely agree. Yeah, like I'm not writing youth songs anymore, so
Yeah.
because that's not me anymore. And it's not that I don't like the music that inspired youth anymore, or it's not that I don't like youth. It's just not what I'm currently excited about. I still like those songs, and I still like all the bands that inspired that album, and but it would be, I don't want to like pander to youth fans by rewriting an album that I'm not excited about, because I feel like it just wouldn't even turn out that well. Does that make sense? I don't know.
Yeah. And I almost feel like that would almost be a slap in the face to youth fans, because like, in my opinion, Youth is a perfect record. I love that record. And I think that like, if you guys were to try to write Youth 2, it's like, how are you going to write Youth 2? You already wrote Youth. You know what I mean? Like, um,
Absolutely.
I totally get it.
Citizen has gotten lucky though I mean, there was a conscious decision to not write Youth 2 for Everybody's Going to Heaven. Um, I was listening to a lot of Nine Inch Nails, Marilyn Manson. I know that's not okay now, but at the time, things like that. And I was like, man, I don't want to write another Citizen album. I like this music. And everybody was like, let's just roll. It's fine. It's fine. Just do whatever you're excited about. And I was like, okay, or whatever we're excited about. And we even had like a sit down talk. We were like, this is gonna like maybe not be good for the band, if we like go this far left field. And we were like, let's just do it. It doesn't matter. And I think keeping that like personal integrity, it was a good thing, because it's funny at shows, dude. Like, you play a youth song, you see the youth fans. You play Everybody's Going to Heaven song, you see those fans, or a mix of both. Usually I notice with As You Please fans, they like both records. But there is a noticeable divide at Citizen shows. And instead of ruining our fan base, it like grew it. It just like brought different people in together. So we got very lucky. And we are very fortunate to not have set off a self-destruct button. Like we thought we might have, we were like, this could ruin the band, but it would be bad if we were not stoked on something. That would be the worst thing, is putting out another record we weren't excited about and then having to tour on it for 2 years. You know what I'm saying? Like that would not be good. So we made that decision with Everybody's Going to Heaven, and it worked out well. There was it worked out well. And then we were like, okay, let's just continue to do whatever we want. Who cares? And, I mean, we got lucky, because some bands do that and it doesn't go so well for them. So, yeah.
And I think it just further shows like, the more, I know I keep saying this a lot, but like the genuine nature of the band, that you just like music. You just want to play music. There's nothing like, you're not after like, money or fame, because like, you enjoy music and you're going to play what you enjoy. I always look at bands like Boston Manor, who literally went from like almost like a squeaky clean pop punk band to like a heavy, dark Nine Inch Nails with no transition in between. And I was like, well, that's what they're into now. You know what I mean? Like, I love that.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And I respect that. I mean, even if you're writing the same record over and over and over again, as long as, you're stoked about it, like that's really all that matters. I know bands that like go into it with a plan, and it seems very mapped out, and it seems like they don't actually care, and I just feel like that kind of stuff pokes through.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I've got one more question for you today. Thank you again so much for sitting down, talking to me about the new record, the new song, the new tour you've got going on. There's so much happening in the Citizen Camp. We're so excited. My last question for you today. One of my personal favorite songs off the record is Winter Buds, and then like kind of that slow, gradual build into that just guitar solo. Like what went into that? Like what kind of went behind that thought process?
I like this is funny because like the record as a whole, we were doing we wanted the rhythm to sound like a drum machine. It's like we want live drums, but we kind of like want it to be very bare and just kind of like you're playing a drum machine for the most part. I mean, obviously it's not exactly that, but Winter Buds was the first song I wrote for the new record.
Oh, wow.
And that was before I was like, I want to do upbeat stuff. But that was a song I was still excited about, even after we made the conscious decision to go a different route. I like hills and valleys in songs, like, and that song is perfect. Not perfect. It's not a perfect song, but like,
I'll say it's a perfect song.
It's so perfect. No, it's dynamic. That's a perfect example. It's chill. It peaks, gets brought back down, then goes back up. It's just like listening to it is like an experience, and we thought about not putting it on the record because because it's kind of like it's not as accessible as other songs. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But I feel like Citizen fans will appreciate that song. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like the person at Planet Fitness that's listening to I Want to Kill You as they're doing curls, just because it's on and it's upbeat and they're like, oh, I like this song. Like they're not listening to Winter Buds. But like the diehard Citizen fans that are down will understand that song. And I thought, and I like that. And so we were like, no, let's leave it on. I think it would be a good addition. And yeah, so
I just love the vivid imagery of just like, you got a gym, everyone's playing pump up music, and then just someone puts on like The Night I Drove Alone, Winter Buds, just like the whole gym just gets real sad real quick. The vibes are so
everyone's
off.
like, I don't really like this.
It's like, I kind of want to go home now.
I don't want this anymore. I'm sad. Yeah.
But yeah, thank you again so much. I totally get what you're saying with that, like hills and valleys also, Edge of the World, like the whole end of Edge of the World is just like a valley up, it almost.
Dude, when we first finished that song, so there was no vocals at the end, right? It was just that big synth part, and it was just music and then the end. And I finished recording. I was like, the song is done. Woo! So I go inside and I take some pre-workout and I'm benching. And I'm listening to this new Citizen song. And because we wrote that, we didn't demo that. We just wrote it and recorded it as we wrote it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh my God, like this ending is so epic, I'm like, oh man, it's so cool. And I like wrote the ending vocal part. I mean, I like mush mouthed it and wrote it in like 3 seconds, and it's like my favorite part of the whole record. I think it is, and it just came so, and that goes into what we were talking about before. It was like the stuff that comes natural is like always the best, and
oh, yeah.
I didn't think that part needed a vocal part. I was like, oh, just let the music write it out. And then it's just like, it just came and it felt so good. That song, we played that song at Riot Fest, and I was like, man, I just love that song. I think it's so good. It just feels really good. So, yeah.
Yeah. And like, I'll tell you, like being in that Riot Fest crowd, like being in that pit when that song hit and like that build started to happen, you feel the crowd kind of get more rowdy around you. That was just incredible. That was one of my favorite concert memories to date.
Oh, that's awesome. I wish during that part I had my eyes closed. I was like, whoa. So I don't really know what was happening, but you know, that's really cool.
Yeah, you can feel like the crowd get tighter and tighter around you, which is just a cool feeling when the music swells. It was awesome.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's cool to hear. That's awesome.
All right, Matt. Well, thank you so much again for talking to me today. It's been an absolute honor talking with you. It's been a privilege. I love the new record personally. We at WSOU are loving the new record. You can hear on Under the Stars every Tuesday night if you want to go tune in to all of our listeners. Thank you again.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.